Okay, we are live. Just waiting for a few people to show up. And this is Fasting Friday Live, where we talk about how our fasting is going, why we're fasting. And I always like to throw in the theme of healing from being a people pleaser. So here we're going to talk about the ways that fasting helps us emotionally and energetically, not just about how fasting helps the body. Just waiting for people to get on. And I had found that I needed to start back fasting because as of late, over the last months, I have been eating more foods, the old kind of foods that I used to eat before I changed my lifestyle, and I was eating more healthy, high vibrational foods. And back in July or in March of 2025, just a year ago, I moved into a new home and a new location, and there was this little country store like 5 minutes up the road. And I'd drive by it every day going to work or anytime I had to go to town. And so after weeks or a month or so, I would pop in there and see what they had. And I started getting not too bad. I would get their cooked cabbage, maybe some mashed potatoes. They were instant mashed potatoes, so they didn't have butter in them. I am typically mostly raw vegan now, but until I started falling off the wagon. So back in July, I started getting other things in there like banana pudding, made the old-fashioned way, and baked cornbread, and just kind of going crazy with it. And it just built right until about December, January. I was like 10 years getting out of control, and I had started back drinking coffee again. And I knew things were getting out of control. I saw somebody popped on, but then they popped right back off. I'm just waiting to get into the details, the juicy stuff, before for some other people to hop on. So that's kind of how I ended up back into fasting. And now the theme is Fasting Fridays. So at one point last week, I said, okay, I am going to fast every Friday and call it all day and call it Fasting Fridays. And since then, I've had at least a couple other people in this group to pop up and say, yeah, I've been guided to do that too. I've been getting the nudge to do that too. So yesterday in the shower, I had this idea. My guys put in my mind to have a live. This is only my second live, so it might go a little bit bumpy, but that's okay. Right? I am no longer a perfectionist. I'm no longer a people pleaser. I'm no longer a perfectionist. And I am on the fast track to healing. This is my choice. I lived my entire life up until about the age of 52-ish being controlled by narcissists. And I allowed it because that's all I knew. I didn't know any other way. But now, no longer. I don't do that anymore. I have had some of the greatest mentors, my friends in high places, the ascended masters, my guardian angels, the archangels as my mentors. And it tugs on my heartstrings. But they were the ones, and they had to teach me how to be a better communicator, and how to heal, how to speak, how to find my voice again, how to find my truth, how to know what boundaries to set up. My mentors in high places taught me all these things in many different ways. And they taught me through all the signs and symbols and all the clairs. And I followed the breadcrumbs, one breadcrumb at a time. And I'm showing up because I have been guided to share all the things that I did, all the ways that I have healed, because there are many people out there who are in the same predicament as I was. Other people out there, people pleasing and looking for love, or looking for love in all the wrong places, that song goes, but who want to heal. And like me, might not know at first exactly how, or maybe needs some help, some more breadcrumbs. So I am here to show up as a mirror and share my story. And today's theme is about fasting. So let's hop right into it. We've already been going about 6 minutes. People pleasing, in a very simple way of putting it, is basically self abandonment dressed up as kindness. And fasting exposes that pattern in a quiet and honest way. We as people pleasers have coping strategies that fasting interrupts. These coping strategies that can go unnoticed otherwise. And some of it can be food. Some of us do self-soothe with food, right? Binging. I used to binge on junk food. But the biggest way that people pleasers self-soothe is by avoiding discomfort. Fasting brings awareness to these strategies and patterns that we have developed to cope. And in this awareness, we see what we're really needing. What is it we're really wanting? Reassurance, boundaries. We want to be able to create and stand in our boundaries, rest and love. Fasting helps us discover these things. And this is how. We're going to get into how eventually as we progress into this. When you fast, hunger shows up, discomfort shows up, emotional needs begin to move up, because when you eat and you have to digest your food, your body has to digest your food, energy moves downward to digest that food. When you don't eat, the energy is able to move up. And this helps bring up those emotions that have been pushed down and are compressed down in your body. That is your power. And the way to get your power back is to feel, acknowledge, feel, and release those old, painful emotions. That's how you get your power back. And like I said, fasting, the hunger shows up, the discomfort shows up, the emotions start to show up for you to look at and heal. And while all these things begin to show up, the ego activity also shows up. And when you stay committed in your fasting, you show the ego activity that there's nothing you need to fix. The ego activity is screaming, saying, we need to fix this, we need to fix that, we need to fix that discomfort, we need to fix the hunger, we need to push those emotions down. But when you choose fasting, you weaken the ego because you know there's nothing to fix. And at the same time, You are training your nervous system that you can feel discomfort and still be okay. People pleasers feel discomfort in relationships. I felt discomfort in all my relationships, always, all relationships. And we need to face the discomfort. I looked it right in the face by the time I got to my dark night of the soul in my 50s, I said, I can't go on, because it was like I had as little life force left in me um, that I could possibly still keep my body alive with. That's what it felt like. I just had nothing left to give. And I didn't know anything. So I looked this discomfort right in the face. So now I want to talk about the ways that people pleasers self-soothe. And this is a list, 3 pages long, but I'm just going to talk about the first 3, the first primary ones. People pleasers overgive and overhelp. And we do this to avoid the discomfort of not being useful and performing to be accepted. We need to be useful. We need to be performing constantly to be accepted, is what we feel. And therefore we overgive, we overhelp, we fix other people's problems, we do people favors, we anticipate other people's needs constantly. We're trying to rescue people and staying useful. So that's the first way, overgiving and overhelping to avoid discomfort. The second way, we overexplain and continuously feel the need to justify all of our choices. If we happen to mention a need, we have to justify it. We do this to avoid discomfort of conflict. So instead of saying no, we're soothing by giving long reasons, softening our truth, right? We're kind of sugarcoating things, managing people's reactions, and constantly walking on eggshells. I do all of these. I don't now do all of these because I am healed from a lot of it. I say I'm no longer a people pleaser, but I have done all of these many times in my life. And the third one that I want to talk about of how we avoid discomfort is overthinking and mental rehearsal. Wow, this has got my name written all over it. I did so much overthinking and mental rehearsal, planning what I was going to say, planning out everything that might be something that is going to cause a problem for somebody else. Hi, Ariel. These are all me. Yeah, I see 2 of you, Ariel. I'm so glad you could show up. I am talking about some of the ways that people pleasers self-soothe, ways that we avoid feeling discomfort. Throw something in the chat if you want to. Yeah, I see you. Where are you joining from? What country are you in? Are you in America? And your name is pronounced Ariel. If not, put something in the chat about how to pronounce it. Is it Ariella? I'm thinking it's Ariel. But we're talking about the first 3 major ways that people pleasers self-soothe. And it was overgiving, overhelping. We're doing these things to avoid the discomfort of not being useful and performing, because we always feel like if we're not useful and performing that we're not going to be accepted. So we avoid that discomfort. We over-explain and justify to avoid discomfort of conflict. And we overthink and mentally rehearse to avoid discomfort of making mistakes. So Ariel says, I'm in South Carolina and my name is pronounced Ariel. All right. Thank you for that clarity. Ariel. And do you know what state I'm from? I'm in North Carolina. Okay. The avoiding conflict is huge for you. Well, let's go back and look at it. Yeah, well, that's what all of the people-pleasing patterns mostly are, is avoiding discomfort. So this is big. And I talked about a little bit, if you get a chance later, you can go back and watch the beginning of the replay because I did give some overall of how fasting helps this. So I'm going to move on, and this brings me to about page 4. I made these little pages out so I could keep a good pace and not get all jumbled up, hoping that I could, my information would make sense and come together to help people. And wait, yeah, we're neighbors. So I am in eastern North Carolina. I'm 2 hours east of Raleigh. You probably know where that is. And I'm about an hour and a half from the coast, Atlantic Beach. I used to live and work in Greenville, South Carolina, way back when, a few decades ago. I like that, Ariel, and that makes it easy to give how to pronounce it. All right, so I did, Ariel. I printed out your questions so that I could make sure I got those covered. And I said Ariel again. Ariel, I'm going to get it. And you wanted to know about releasing childhood trauma. Yeah. And you would want to know how to make that the focus during your fast. So I am going to cover some more about that here shortly. I do want to go ahead and answer the question about, you said, are there any specific questions you can ask during your fasting? And I usually frame things in more of a statement or more of a command. So I would say things like, what do I need to see? Because I was mentioning this just a few minutes ago, but when you fast, the hunger comes up, the discomfort comes up, and emotional pain, emotional needs come up. Because how that happens is when you're eating, the energy moves down in order to digest the food. But when you're not eating, the energy is available to move up, and that's where the energy moves up, and emotions are energy. So it starts to bring up those emotions that have been suppressed and are just stuffed down in the body. And, when these things come up, hunger, discomfort, and emotions, the ego is coming up also, but fasting helps weaken the ego. So that answers some of your questions right there. And like I said before, the process of all this during the fasting helps train the nervous system that I am still safe even in my discomfort. So let's see. And you can say things during your fasting. Basically what you do, what I would do, what I have done is set my intention. I'm going to be fasting today, and what do you want to accomplish? You just say it out loud. Help me to work through my emotional pain. And I actually have a very good affirmation right here. I wish to increase my awareness of my energetic body throughout my day. And that's an overall. So just formulate some type of a statement stating what your intention is energetically. We all want the physical benefits as well. So those are good too. Ariel says, we'll definitely see the replay. I so appreciate you answering my questions. No pressure on the name. It's all good. Thank you, Ariel. That's a powerful statement. Yep. Um, let's see. So, and then you had asked about my reason for fasting, and I'm going to talk some more about how fasting helps energetically. I'm going to squeeze this in just so I can stay on pace. My reason for fasting, I originally started fasting in 2019. I was doing A Course in Miracles, and I was just strongly guided to change what I ate. So I completely changed everything that I ate. And I first started intermittent fasting. So I know about the autophagy. And originally it was for the physical benefits. And then that was in 2018, the beginning of 2019. I went to the doctor for a foot appointment, and it was in the middle of winter, and I was wearing a really big jacket, but she could see my face. And when she walked in, the doctor, she just looked at me. She was stunned. She said, "I need to weigh you." I had lost so much weight. I don't remember, but I was down to 109 pounds, and I was up to like 140 or something like that. I could stand to lose a little, but I had lost way too much. And so I stopped the intermittent fasting at all. I just needed to, get a little bit more weight on my bones because I did look malnourished. I didn't notice it. I was so in my spirit, so I was grounded, but it's like Jesus says, I was in the world, but not of it. I looked in the mirror every day to fix my hair, but I didn't even notice how bony I was, and my face was even more thin than it is now. And I gained a little bit back. But then last year I moved to this new location, and I started driving by this little country store 5 minutes up the street. And after 6 years of being on that new lifestyle, eating very healthy, not having coffee, blah, 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 I started stopping in and seeing what they got. Well, they've got cooked cabbage. I can have cooked cabbage. I'll have some of that. They had instant mashed potatoes, which actually taste pretty good when you haven't eaten them in so long. And I started getting the goes. They were instant, so they didn't have butter in them because I became a raw vegan for the most part. And anyway, I just started in that little trap, just going down that rabbit hole of starting to eat cornbread, started having a banana pudding, made the old-fashioned way. And then in December, January, it's like it was out of control again. I mean, I was still, for the most part, like 2 meals a day. I was raw vegan, but then every day I was having a little bit of the stuff I didn't want to eat that was low vibrational, I felt. So then I started getting back into following my guides were like, you need to go on a fast, you need to get your mind cleared, and for all these other energetic reasons. So that's why I am here today. They guided me, and after last Friday's fast, I was guided in the shower yesterday morning that I should do a fasting Friday, do a fasting every Friday, and it would be good for me. But now I have a big announcement, something that actually happened today that I'm going to share with you, and it's blowing my mind what came about. That I was Spirit got my attention this morning and something came through, but I want to wait just a few more minutes before I bring that in. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Yeah, make the focus of fasting to heal childhood trauma. That's my reason for doing it now. All right. Yeah, and yesterday, once I was guided this week, things were coming up, right? I had clarity from the fasting. I was like, you know what? I just bought a ton of pure maple syrup. Sugar is one of my addictions. Even though it's pure maple syrup, I mean, I don't do the unrefined sugars unless I eat banana pudding, but I don't, use it in my foods anymore. But I was thinking that doing the pure maple syrup organic, the local raw honey, agave and medjool dates. I was thinking, oh, okay, these are okay. But it was constant. It's like I couldn't have anything to eat without one of those three things in it. It had to be sweet. And even in my coffee, I started back on coffee. That was another thing. And ways that it wasn't good, reasons that I needed to fast was to be able to see how those things, the sugar, the coffee, the searching for more recipes, the more better recipes I had, the better they tasted, the more I ate, the more the risk to overeat. But I started realizing after that first fast last Friday that I needed to, I had to purchase 2 jugs, not one, but 2 jugs of the maple syrup at Sam's Club. So I took it back. I hadn't opened them yet. They let me take them back. I had bought a couple, not one, but a couple bags of roasted chicory. I had decided that maybe if I didn't drink coffee and I tried something that was similar to coffee but an herb, which chicory is, that it would be okay. But the problem is I add maple syrup to it. So I just was guided to send those bags of the roasted chicory / coffee back. And so I started getting all this clarity, and I started noticing how the fasting helped me notice how I was procrastinating things that I had been doing for a long time that I knew were good for me. My yoga, I get up straight away. I had started a rule that I wasn't going to have coffee before 7 in the morning. So at least I had that little rule, but still, I usually would like to do my yoga first thing in the morning, but then I found myself starting to push that back further in the day. And sometimes when I do that, I would end up not doing my yoga at all. So, yeah, because I'd make the cup of coffee at 7, then I'd go, oh, wait, I wanted to do my yoga, but now I want to finish my coffee, and I'd choose the coffee. So that kind of explains all that. Lots of things like that. I noticed that even when I was doing my weight training after my yoga, I would rush through my weight training so that I could hurry up and eat something or drink something, drink some more coffee. So you can see how all of this was beginning to control me again, the way it did before my 6-year lifestyle change. So that kind of answers that question. And that might be all. Let me look at the page one more time. Yeah, we talked about that. Focus on healing people pleasing patterns for your fast. I saw the chat move. Yeah, that was a lot of weight loss. Definitely. And so put in the chat ways that that your fasting may have, that you may have noticed started to give you clarity about these type things. If there's something you can pull up in your memory bank. And also, would like it if you feel comfortable putting something in the chat, Ariel, about your fast. I think today is your 7th day of your fast. That is huge. The longest one I've ever done was a 5-day fast. So 7 days. And how long are you planning to do the total fast? You can put that in the chat if you feel comfortable. But that brings me to the big announcement. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in right here because it fits. And then I'll move on to how fasting helps energetically. I feel like this happened as a result, too, of me gaining back my clarity as of last Friday's fast, all-day fast, and going in, committing to today's fast. I was woken up by, this morning by a car horn, and it woke me up from a deep sleep. And I immediately, when I woke up, I looked at the clock and it was 12:02. And I knew right away, I said, that was not a real car horn outside in the physical. That was spirit getting my attention. And for whatever reason, I went right back to sleep. There have been times when I know Spirit's trying to get my attention, and so I'll sit up and tune in. But for some reason, this time I just went right back to sleep. Usually they get my attention more, around 3, 4 o'clock. This time it was 12, and I guess I was still so tired. So when I got up this morning, once I got all my necessary stuff done, had to run some errands and this and that, I started tuning in. And it was the energy that was trying to get my attention with the car horn was Source. And so I started asking, okay, what message does Source have for me? And Jesus is my gatekeeper for my channeling, because I had to have someone like Jesus as my gatekeeper and Archangel Michael as my spiritual bouncer, because at first I didn't have any boundaries. And if you don't have boundaries, there might be some low vibrational energies that can sneak in there, right? And you don't have the good boundaries to manage that. So you need a gatekeeper. And Jesus was my gatekeeper. And he was this morning too. Even though I've gotten much better, I've got boundaries now. My daughter tells me I do. But where was I going with this? Okay, so I did write down. I want to tell you the little bits. There's 2 reasons I was guided to talk about this. At first I thought I can't talk about this yet because it's still, you'll see what I mean when I get to the big announcement part. But I was guided by Source to share this here today, specifically on this live. I'll go ahead and share the message, and then I'll get into all the little synchronicities that happened. The message that Source had for me, because it relates to the fasting, is that it is time for me to be a breatharian. I know, I'll give that a minute to sink in because that is huge. And I kept asking for confirmation in different ways. And I kept getting yes, yes, yes. And I said, am I truly ready for this? I got yes with an exclamation mark. And when I started thinking back on it, I have often thought of a breatharian. I said, I wonder if I'm going to end up being a breatharian. And it wasn't always conscious. It was just like something that was there, like a thought that would just randomly come in. I feel like it was from my higher self. But 6 years ago, when I was standing in my kitchen, right when I was in the middle of that, creating that new eating lifestyle for me, the food that I ate and doing everything in a healthy way, I was standing in my kitchen, and it was time for me to figure out what I was going to have to eat. That's a big part of it. And even before that new lifestyle, all during my life, I would have periods where I would just get tired of eating. Just get tired of eating, tired of having to figure it out. It's like a hassle. But 6 years ago, standing in my kitchen, I was going through that again. I was like, I'm just tired of eating. I wish I didn't have to figure out what to eat, and it just happened. I had this feeling like I was sucking up energy as food, and my body did that. And the thought was, if I could just eat this way and be sustained. And that's what breatharian is, in a way. My body actually did that movement. And then a few weeks after that happened, I had a private reading, and that was confirmed. The reader brought it up first. I didn't say anything about it. They say, I see you standing in the kitchen doing this, and, if I could just eat this way. Anyway, so this morning when Source came in and said, it's time to be a breatharian, I was like, wow. And I got many confirmations. Let's see, we have another person here. Let me see if I can find, or is it a third you, Ariel? It says 2 people. Say hi in the chat if you're here. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, I just see Ariel all the way down. Let's see what she said. Okay. Okay, you are doing a closing winter reset for 10 days. Awesome. I made some videos on my channel about it. I can totally see how my emotions are rising because I feel more sensitive, right? I have had some wild, vivid dreams. And in my research, it talks about that, and so have I. I've had prophetic dreams as well that I haven't shared on my YouTube channel because, yeah, I will when it's time. Um, yeah, breatharians. I've watched some years ago. I mean, like, it's not like I was sitting here telling myself I'm going to be a breatharian, but it's like now that I look back, I have all these occurrences where I was investigating it. I watched a documentary about it. But yeah, it came as a big surprise this morning. And Ariel is saying, I'm thinking about transitioning to fruitarian, raw vegan. Yeah. It was hard for me to do the raw vegan, and it's taken years for me to get better at knowing things to make as a raw vegan. And the last couple of years, I would say that I've been about 80% raw vegan. And I was getting to the point where I liked it. But again, it was like I was living for it, you know? And I was trying to you say, well, maybe I just need to eat twice a day. But then I'd end up eating a third time. But even though I'd stagger it, have a 10 o'clock breakfast and a 2 or 3 o'clock lunch. But it was not unusual for me to skip dinner. But yeah, so I'm seriously considering I do what I am guided to do by the higher realm, the high frequency beings, especially source. I guess that's all on the same level, but I will do it. I have to be in my certainty as I do it, right? I can't go into it as a skeptic because I haven't done any research this week about it. Hi, Judy, you made it. So glad you could make it. Judy's another one that was been talking about doing a all-day fast or maybe longer. She was deciding if she was going to do it for longer than one day. Hi, Judy. Judy's on vacation in Florida. We're all on the East Coast so far. And, yeah. What's the weather like in Florida right now, Judy? Is it as we would expect? Sunny and 70? Judy, this is Ariel. I had to ask her how to pronounce her name. Isn't that beautiful, Ariel? 78 and sunny. That's beautiful too. Good for you. And let's see, Ariel is in South Carolina. So, yep, we are literally all on the East Coast. So I forgot where I was. I was talking about Judy. I want to share real quick without going into all the other details I was discussing, but I was visited by Source this morning, and I was told that it is time for me to be a breatharian. I know every time I want to say it, I want to put like 1,000 exclamation marks behind it because I'm still getting my head around it. But like I said to Ariel, I will do it. But I have to be in my certainty about it. I can't go into it as a skeptic. Yeah, that's big. Breatharian, I'm like, okay. But if you want to, just before this, for about 10 minutes or so, watch the replay, and I kind of explain where once I looked back at all the coincidences, which aren't coincidences, the times that breatharian has come up in my thoughts and things I did in my kitchen when I was complaining about having to think of something else healthy to eat. But anyway, what I wanted to say was everything that happened, because another thing on my channel, I like to share all the ways that Spirit is guiding us. It's important for us to be open to Spirit's guidance because they know what we need. And I couldn't have done it without them. They were my mentors. Spirit was my mentors. Just like it was a person in physical being a mentor, Spirit was my mentor. Jesus, my guardian angel Valinor, archangels, Archangel Michael. He was my bud. He was my big brother. They were my mentors. They taught me how to communicate in a healthy way. They taught me places that I needed to heal. They intervened when they saw that I just wasn't getting it. And they told me exactly what to say. Jesus said, when you're in a situation and you're not sure what to say, ask me. So I started doing that. But anyway, so I do take Spirit's guidance. So I want to show here how all the things that happen. So real quick and short for Judy, I was woken up at 12:02 this morning by a car horn, and I knew right away that it wasn't a car horn in the physical. It was Spirit trying to get my attention, but it was so early. I don't know. I just went right back to sleep immediately. And so when I woke up this morning, I started tuning in, and that's when I found out it was Source. Source is saying it's time for you to be a breatharian. But before Source told me that, I was tuning in. Let me turn the page. I want to tell you exactly what came through before that. I was asking, okay, what's the message? I'm here. I'm open and receptive. I'm listening. I want to hear the message. And as I thought of the next thing that was put in my head by Source, my phone was like that, but it flashed on and the clock said 10:10. And for me, that's my symbol for me and Source. And it flashed right back off, just long enough for me to see 10:10. And then I wrote down that thought that came in at the same time. And the thought was, I don't need to step through the door. I don't need to step through the door. I stand in the keyhole because I am the key. That was the exact words that came through. And then a few things later is when Source uncovered that it was time for me to be a breatharian. But then, it was all in the same minute at 10:10. As I was writing that down about the keyhole, that had an energy pop in the wall behind me. I was sitting in my den over here. So immediately I turned around to look at the wall and I saw 10:11 on the clock. Again, that's me and Source, ones and zeros. So that happened. I used to get a lot of energy pops, and that was Source. I mean, it was Source, it was Spirit. It was just a lot of energy, a lot of high vibration energy. And so that happened today. And surrender is the key. And I'm wearing my key today. Isn't that something? All the keyhole and everything. And then when I went out after that to go get my oil changed, I saw 1101 on a mailbox. I saw the angel numbers 444 twice on two different license tags. I wrote it down. Let me see. My fingers are so dry. Yep. And I saw 110 on my clock. I was sitting in the waiting room at the oil change place, and there was a vending machine. Right. I haven't eaten from a vending machine in, I don't know, 6 years or something like that. But since I started my new lifestyle. But my attention was drawn to the vending machine, and there were like 5 or 6 things that cost $1, and Spirit was just bringing my attention to that. So it was me and Source. And 1101, somebody brought up the number 1101 in another video after I got home, and that has been my day. So I want to jump right in. I did have some good information earlier on before anybody came on, Judy, which you might want to go back and watch the replay. And Ariel says, love seeing the angel number everywhere. I have seen a ton this week. Yep. So now I'm going to talk about how fasting helps energetically overall. And I think I mentioned it to you, Judy. I've already talked about the things that people pleasers do specifically to avoid discomfort. But now I want to highlight a few things about how fasting helps energetically overall. Let me put my glasses on. And that is, right, your energy stops being pulled down. Like I said earlier, when we eat, our body uses energy, it pulls energy down to digest the food. So therefore, when we fast, that energy is available to be moved up, which helps the emotions move up. So that's why it is likely that in your increased clarity and getting used to the discomfort, that emotions are going to be moved up and you weaken the ego. So that helps you be more available to tune in and feel your emotions so that they can be released. Judy says, do you ever have troubles with sleep? During fasting or in general? Yeah, clear that for me and I'll answer the question. Yes, during fasting. Okay, let me work through it here. Sometimes when I fast, I get real sleepy during the day, and it's unusual for me to fast during the day. I mean, sleep during the day, nap during the day. But sometimes, not every time, sometimes fasting makes me sleepy in the middle of the day. And I think I've read that it's something about blood sugar fluctuations. But last Friday, I didn't get sleepy at all. But that was the day that I had the serious vertigo, and I threw up 5 times. So I had the other thing going on, and that I was going to talk about that too, but that's kind of jumping. Yeah, so I think I just answered your question, but during the fast. But at night, no, I think my nighttime sleep is usual. But I think I do remember reading that it's one of the possible side effects of fasting, that it could disrupt you or change your sleep. But I haven't had that trouble. I don't sleep that much. At night, I usually, not always, but I usually sleep okay. I might get 4 to 6 hours, and I'm good almost every night. And even if I, for some reason, have trouble sleeping and only get 2 hours, I function fine the next day. So Ariel says, yes, same here. I have a lot of tiredness during this fast, sleeping good at night, even when I nap during the day. Judy, I can't remember if you were up here, but Ariel is on her 7th day of a fast today. It's 7 days, and she's planning to do a 10-day. So, Ariel, are you doing anything else, or are you just drinking water, or do you want to share something more about that? So you do get tired. You have had some tiredness this week. You're sleeping good at night. Even when I know, yeah. Yeah, me too. That's right, Ariel. That's big. The longest I've ever gone on a fast, Judy, is 5 days. I said that earlier. But 7 days is wow. And Ariel, are you following someone who's doing a 10-day fast? Or are you doing it with a group of people or someone that gives you guidance? I'd be interested to know that. Okay, so how fasting helps energetically. Let me see where we are on time. All right, almost 50 minutes. How fasting helps energetically. I am just kind of reading this off, but it's good information. Yeah, so the number one way, it says here, your energy stops being pulled down. We just talked about that. Number 2, old emotional energy gets released, and we've talked about that also. When you fast, emotions that were being buffered by eating begin to surface. And this could be all the old stuff, right? The things that we didn't grieve. Like for me, a big one was my relationship with my mom. That was a lot of grief had to come up around that, and how my mom was my biggest heartbreak. And there's just all kinds of general fears that can come up. that as people pleasers, we push down. Anger, lots of anger, because we had to abandon ourselves so many times and avoid speaking our truth. And just the longing to belong. I never got a sense of belonging in my family, and that's what led me to be a perfectionist. And on the good flip side is they're all good, right? Because they're all helping us. But the clarity that comes up energetically, that is energetic during a fast. And number 3, your aura becomes cleaner and brighter. Yeah. Let's see, Ariel says she's drinking distilled water and teas. Dr. Mindy Peltz, I've heard of her, has some fasted snacks that don't pull you out of autophagy. Yeah, I've heard of those. So I've a super small salad twice while working to help me get through my shift. Yeah. Yep, it all does take practice. That's exactly right. We can all do it. It takes a lot of willpower, takes a commitment and devotion, and it takes our spirit guides. That's right up there with the willpower. Um, yeah, I have heard of her before. I think years ago when I first started trying to do the intermittent and then my first and 5-day fast. All right, so old emotional energy gets released. When you fast, the emotions come up. Spiritually, this is purification. You're letting stored emotional energy move instead of staying trapped. And that brings up the idea that about last Friday's fasting, when I had that vertigo, that morning, I also did a big ceremony about working with Lord Serapis Bay on the purification flame. And I feel like that vertigo slash vomiting and purification was a purification for me because I had set my intention for it. You know, I was talking to Lord Serapis Bay, and I petitioned to him to work with me again today, which I usually do on Fridays, but last Friday I did an even more intense ceremony asking for more. And that's why the vertigo came up. And I think that was part also of how I was guided to do that 1-day fast for the first time again lately, last week. But these two things came up as far as when you are setting your intention for a fast to help it help you energetically, not just receive the physical benefits of it, and ask for the purification. Full healing and transformation takes work, processing, and forgiveness. Turn everything, which means turn every challenge, into an opportunity, which turns it into divine grace, because every challenge is an opportunity, which brings in the grace. So let's see. Your aura becomes cleaner and brighter. Fasting helps with clearing emotional residue, as we've talked about. It helps bring the emotions up, refines your field. Many spiritual traditions saw fasting as aura clearing and ego softening. The ego runs on craving and comfort. Food brings us comfort. We use it to self-soothe. And the ego runs on those things. The habit of eating, satisfying the craving. The ego makes you feel like you have to satisfy this craving. And I thought all of those were good. And let's see what time we're at, 54. Okay. I wanted to keep this at an hour and a half or less. So I'm going to move on to the next part. And that is, let me see if there's anything that I missed on this little cheat sheet. I talked about how coffee was my distraction, how My eating habits were beginning to, and my coffee drinking was beginning to make me procrastinate the things that I wanted to do that were healthy for me, like exercise, yoga, meditation. I will procrastinate these things. And I found myself just being on this mission to find even more better recipes. And the more better recipes I have, I tend to eat more. So, and I wanted to just start eating twice a day. I wanted to drop that third time, but I kept falling back into it. Yeah, I was hyper fixated on recipes and getting more sugar. Like I mentioned earlier to Ariel, that I found myself including, it was unrefined sugars, what I would call healthy sugars, but they're still sugar. And I started realizing during my last fast that everything I was putting in my body or making that was raw vegan I still had to make sure it had some kind of sweetener in it, sugar, whether it was dates or maple syrup, 100% maple syrup, honey. But I noticed how I did feel. And I did notice how I did feel better in the fast. And yeah, it's just being able, like right now, I'm on my fast, Friday fast, and I feel good. It's like my stomach does feel kind of, I say caved in because I'm pretty bony. My stomach caves in, but the fullness feeling isn't there, and it feels good. It feels good for it to be like empty. Okay, so we covered that. So what I thought I would do, is everybody up for a very short, like 5 or 7 minute meditation, and then I'll lead right into the silent energy transmission there. If you're all good with that, then that's what I would do. And then at some point, I want to read. Yes, please. Okay. Yes, I'm good. I'm trying to decide. I want to read something. I think I'm going to do it before, instead of doing it after the silent meditation, and let you go from there, let you kind of stay in that relaxation of the energy transmission. And I think I'll read it right now. This is something, I'm not going to read all of it, but it's something about, I'm always preaching about the devotion. And can you say the affirmations you said earlier on the yellow sticky? Let me see. Yes. This one, yeah, the overall general affirmation to say while you're fasting, or as you go into and set your intention for fasting. I wish to increase my awareness of my energetic body throughout my day. And then I do have sources on my side. Let's see if you can see that. There we go. So let me hold it up some more. You got it? I wish to increase my awareness of my energetic body throughout my day. And I mean, I've said things like, bring up the emotions that I need, that you feel it's time for me to release now. And because they know, I don't know, there's so much that was down there and still is probably, but okay, great, Ariel. All right, so this thing I'm going to read is just something that popped into my feed yesterday about Napoleon Hill, something that he had said. And I like it because I'm always preaching about how we have to be so committed. God is our only goal. Healing is our only goal. And that's the only way to ascend and blah, blah, blah. So this is talking about devotion and committing and why it's important. And I think it sounds great. I'm going to start here. It's a quick read. You get what you are willing to become. Becoming is not easy or convenient and not instant. It is a painful, beautiful, transformative process. Isn't that the truth? One that strips away comfort ego and illusion and replaces with clarity, discipline, and strength. But most people quit too soon. They interpret the test or the challenge as a sign to turn back and abandon. The ego probably it screams too loud and they, get attached to that. And do not be one of them. Do not retreat when the trial begins, when things get hard like that. That is the exact moment to go deeper. Just like in a fast, like Ariel, she's been day after day after day. She keeps getting in deeper. To become relentless, because if the test or the challenge is upon you, so is the turning point. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not cursed. You are being shaped, and shaping takes time. Every challenge is asking one question. Do you still want it? If your answer is yes, your actions must speak. If your answer is yes, your actions must speak. You can't just wish it into being. You must work. Train your mind to see the challenge not as setbacks, but as steps forward. This is how winners think. Winners say pain is preparation, failure is feedback, challenge is an invitation to rise. This mindset makes you unstoppable. Don't fear the test, expect it, welcome it. I love that. It's giving me a chills right now. All right, so with that, we can move into the meditation, and then I'll go right into the silent. I'll lead right into the silent energy transmission. And I don't know just yet. I can't describe specifically what the energy healing is geared toward, but it has to be this whole dynamic, right? So I'm going to try not to say anything during the transmission. Wow, I know pain is preparation is so profound. That was such a profound message, and it was right on target for what I like to bring forth in my content. So if you're ready, we will get into the guided meditation. If you want to sit or lay down, just get into your comfortable position. Rest your hands where you want to rest them. A lot of times people say, rest your hands on your chest and belly, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood for that, and I just want to rest my arms out to my side or in my lap comfortably. It's your choice. And as usual, we're going to take a few rounds of slow breathing. Breathing in nice and slow all the way to the top and pausing there with the inhale. Long and slow out the mouth for the first time. And do a few more rounds of that slow breathing technique. Just let it all go. And feel your body where it is, in the chair or on the sofa. Notice any sensations in your body at this moment. Maybe you can notice some of the effects of the fasting, the emptiness, the absence of fullness, quiet. And say silently, I am safe to be here with myself. Let that land. Notice how any urge to fix or soothe or distract might come up. You don't need to change that urge. Just let it float away. Just observe. Observe it as a cloud that's floating by. And now say softly, I do not have to make anything better right now. And this is a beautiful part of the meditation. If you haven't already, you might want to close your eyes. Bring your attention to your chest, around your heart center. Imagine or visualize a small, tender part of you in that space. The part that learned to keep others happy so that you could feel safe. See that part. Not as a problem, but as a protector. Say to it, thank you for keeping me safe. You don't have to work so hard right now. Feel your breath move in and out through your nose, the rising of your chest or belly, slow and steady. Notice your body again, any hunger that might be there, physical or emotional. And instead of feeding it, we meet it. We meet the sensation. And if you choose, you can say, I can feel this and stay present. I do not abandon myself when it is uncomfortable. Now imagine a warm light filling that space where food usually goes. Not food right now, but presence. Not fullness right now, but attention. And let that light say, I choose myself. My needs matter. I am allowed to take up space inside my own body. Stay with your breath, following it in and out for a few more moments. Nothing to fix or change. No one to please. Just you. Choosing you. Now, I'm getting ready in my comfortable position. Uh-oh. Sorry, that didn't help the meditation, but something just, I know what it was. My dog ran across the, tripped a wire where the heater was. Sorry about that. But I'm going into the silent energy healing now. It's okay, Blaze. It's okay, girl. She's growling at the heater. Maybe that's what we need right now. right? It's a distraction, but it's laughter. Sorry. Come here, Blaze. Blaze, come here. It's okay. Let me give her something else to do. It's okay, girl. It's okay. You want to sit over here with me? All right, let's give it a try. Hopefully she's calmed down. I know, right? It is funny. Okay, maybe she'll be quiet. All right. Now I can get back into our peaceful, undistracted place inside us. And the energy healing begins now. Okay. And it's going to be a short one, but it'll be a strong one. And that brings us to the end of this energy transmission. What I got during that was I was told that the reason for this energy transmission was to help us be open with our emotions, to be open and available as the emotions come up. And what I also got was, Ariel, you said that the avoiding discomfort is your biggest, that was really big with you. And it was for me too. But I can tell you, it is like night and day for me now. And it was huge for me. It was amazing. I amazed myself how I was able to function on a daily basis in the anxiety that I lived in. So I know, I'm just telling you this. I know that if I can do it, you can do it. And I would have to say, if I had to give a quick tip, and you probably know this, but the quick tip would be, without diluting and making it all heavy and flooded with information, is make a point to choose differently the next time you're in that situation of where you're trying to avoid the discomfort of not pleasing someone. Just do it. Of course, they say start out with the easier ones first. And like you have devoted to your fast, devote to doing that the same amount. I can tell you too, what just popped in my head was that when I talked about on another video about imprinting the water to help us with things, imprinting consciousness in the water that we drink. Was it last Friday, Judy, that I talked about? Or it was before that. But anyway, it was before that, because I started doing that to give me programming the water to help me with my healthy self-control, healthy self-discipline, and my willpower. And I started noticing a difference, and that's when I was guided to fast. I feel like that's what gave me the new revived courage to do the fast again after I was falling off the wagon and eating all those things, some of the things that I had stopped eating because I knew they weren't good for me. Ariel says, I hear you. Choose differently and be devoted to it. Water program is amazing. And Ariel, thank you so much for this. I needed this to help me get through the last 3 days. Awesome. And Judy says, thank you, Tina. Wonderful job on your live. Thank you, Judy. The lives are hard. It really is. And as usual, I over-prepared, but then I cut back. So I'm grateful that you were here. And is there any questions before we close out? Does anybody have anything that they had hoped that would be covered, or you have a question for me before we close? No questions for Judy. And Ariel's already given me her list of questions, and I think I covered most of those, Ariel. Yeah, you covered it all beautifully. Thank you both. I love you. We love you. And blessed be my heart-centered friends. All right. Have a good weekend. I need to figure out how to end the stream. Bye-bye.